Commissioner Dwight Jones, and leading us in the pledge be Commissioner Brandon Ryan. Please stand.
Our Father which art in heaven, thank you, Lord, for this day you have blessed us with. We thank you for this great county we live in. We thank you for the freedom we have to come here tonight and make decisions that affect the people of this county. We ask you, Lord, that you are with us as we make these decisions. Let the things done here tonight be right and pleasing in your sight. We ask you to also be with the Osmond family out in Brentwood. Just comfort them through this time of their great loss. In Christ's most precious name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If everyone would push their present button. Record the roll, Ms. Anderson.
22 present and 2 absent. Commissioner Cook absent and Commissioner Ernie Williams absent.
All right, and Commissioner Beathard is speaking at the Franklin Special School Board tonight, and he will be here just as soon as he can. So,
21 present. Sorry.
Very good. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes, and I believe they were mailed in your packet. I'll entertain a motion. Proper motion. Commissioner Langston, the second. If you approve is submitted, press yes button. Oh, they're not?
No, I don't.
Okay. Voice vote. All right. All in favor as submitted, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. They stand as read. Introduction and acceptance of the Highway Commission minutes. Copies were mailed to each member. I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Hancock, the second. All in favor of the Highway Commission minutes, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And they pass. Next item we have is citizens communication. And if you would come forward, our rules allow you to have 3 minutes. If you'll state your name and your address, and the first person we have, or the only person we have, is Lisa Moody.
Does that mean I get the full 15 minutes?
No, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Lisa Moody. I reside at 1013 Highland Road in Brentwood, and I'm speaking on behalf of the parents and staff at Brentwood High School. I have taught at Brentwood High School for 20 years, and I am also a parent of a Brentwood High School student and up-and-coming high school students as well. I spoke last month and brought pictures of the disrepair that our gymnatorium has, and I am asking that the budget be passed for the Williamson County Schools so that we can complete the 5th phase of the Brentwood High renovations. We have undergone 4 renovations, and the auditorium and making a practice gym have been on the 5th phase, which had been kind of put at a stay. It's embarrassing. It really is. I showed you pictures last month, and it truly is an embarrassment. We have dry rotted curtains, we have torn pads on the walls, broken seats, no accessibility for special needs seating, and a sound and light system that is archaic. Last week we had our show, which was a musical for all-school musical, and the students did a wonderful job. The Thursday evening performance was really ruined the second half because of texting. Our sound system is so archaic, and all of the wiring, that anytime anyone sends a text message, you get a buzzing in the sound system. So the rest of the performances, I had to say something at the beginning and after intermission just to ask people to turn off their phones because of the buzzing that was happening. The it takes 20 minutes to bring the seats in and out, and on any given day, I'm responsible for that, and I do it maybe, sometimes 2 times a day, and it takes, because the seats are broken, they end up having to, I have to take them in and out, in and out, in and out, because they scrape the walls. Some of the seats themselves are broken. We have 3 of the front rows that are broken, and we have to have labeled, and those should be for accessibility for people with special needs, and we can't even use those for people because if they sit, they sometimes collapse on them. I could go on and on, but I'm just asking that you pass the budget. I know I am proud of Brentwood High School. I've taught there for 20 years. I think I already said that. And I love the high school, and I love what we do, and I wish that our facility would show the pride that we have in Brentwood High School as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is communications and messages. I'd like to thank Deputies Hooper, Bufford, and Byron, and they're here in the audience, and also Sheriff Jeff Long. Also, we have a special guest tonight, Daniel Cadies from Franklin High School. Daniel, if you'll stand. Welcome, and glad you're here. He's been shadowing the mayor, and I think he's interested in politics, so we'll all do our best to talk him out of that. But, also, we have one late filed resolution, and it's on your agenda, although it is late filed. It's at the end of appropriations. It's Resolution 312-21. If I hear no objections, we will hear that at the end of the agenda. So I see none. So it's on our agenda, 312-21, and that's where it'll stay. All right, next report to county offices, County Mayor Rogers Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I could have David give us a snapshot of the financial picture, then following that, I would ask that Christy Earwood give us a quick overview of the zoning change in ordinance you'll be looking at in May. David?
Chairman, Commissioners, we have 2 of our normal monthly reports tonight. We do not have the budget recap report tonight with the 10th falling on the weekend. The trustee's office having their busiest month for collections, and so we were not able to get closed out in time for tonight, so we'll have that for you next month. In fact, we'll try to send that out to you by email by the end of the week. We do have the other 2 reports. We have a report from the Cool Springs Marriott for the month of February, and we were down a little bit. We're short almost $13,000 for the month of February. We're still doing very well for the year, and that's still within our budgeted anticipation for the year. Then secondly, we have the privilege tax report that we bring to you every month for the month of February, and we're still seeing that upswing that we hope continues. This is the 5th highest February that we've had, or the highest February we've had in the last 5 years, let me put it that way. Highest February in the last 5 years. So still trending the way that we would hope it would continue to go. Mr. Chairman, one report that's a little different tonight. If you recall, last month we brought you a resolution to refinance hospital bonds that we had sold back in, I believe it was 2004. We had an opportunity to refinance those. We did that about a week ago on Tuesday. The resolution we brought you had a target amount of 3%, which is about $500,000. That was going to be the lowest that we would actually accept going into that refinancing, or we would pull out and look at a different date. We had a hoped-for amount of around $1 million, and we had a knock it out of the ballpark hope of $1.5 million. We sold those bonds and have a savings to the hospital of $1.77 million. And, Mr. Chairman, I just reiterate again that our AAA rating, the ratings of our cities, and the overall financial situation in our county helps us to do that, and we're very happy to report that to you. I'll take any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Coleman, if I may add, I understand we were just renewed the AAA.
Yes, sir. Each
Great.
time we sell bonds, they look at that again, and we were renewed on the AAA.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Coleman?
Not part of my report, but go Doors.
Yeah, there you go. And do we expect the mayor to repeat that statement?
Due to circumstances beyond my control, the University of Tennessee will be playing in the NIT tomorrow night, but go Doors. Christy?
I'm just going to stay out of that one. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, for allowing me to be here. I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but I wanted to bring something to your attention. If you recall, last month, Mike Madison was here talking to you about the zoning ordinance update that we've worked on for several years and intend to bring to you shortly. One piece of that is what I'm here to address this evening. If you may recall, back in 1999, this commission adopted regulations related to what's called adult-oriented establishments, or AOEs for short, because it's just easier than saying that mouthful every time. When you adopt zoning provisions related to AOEs, you have to do a certain amount of due diligence before you can. And so because this zoning ordinance update, again, addresses the AOEs, because it is an overall update, I'm going to do the due diligence again, because that's my job. And I'm also going to ask you to do that. Anytime you consider an ordinance related to these AOEs, part of your consideration is reviewing what may be the secondary effects of these uses. And some of this may be new information to you all, which is another reason why I'm here in March. Even though you're not going to see the zoning ordinance for adoption for several months, I want you to have the opportunity to review those secondary effects documents and call me and ask any questions that you may have. When you enact zoning regulations related to these AOEs, that is considered a First Amendment infringement, but it's permissible as a time, place, and manner restriction so long as it's based upon the proper considerations. Part of those considerations are the secondary effects that these uses have on the surrounding community. We don't presently have any uses in unincorporated Williamson County, or any in Williamson County as far as I know. And so for that reason, the courts have allowed communities such as ours to use the studies and reports of other communities in support of the regulations that we adopt. And so I have conducted some research. I have the research that we used back when we adopted them in '99, and I've updated that with additional reports and research. So there's a 3-inch binder that's in the planning department that I would encourage you to take a look at. If you would like a copy of it, I'd be happy to make one for you and get it to you. But it's on display in the planning department as part of our zoning ordinance update process. As you know, we have quite a number of public hearings, and we have a certain requirement as far as our public notices, and this is just one step in that. So when you see the zoning ordinance update and you have a resolution associated with it, you will also probably see either a separate document or at least a piece of that that deals specifically with these, because I want to lay the proper groundwork for this commission when it takes a legislative act to adopt zoning regulations related to these uses, to know that we've done our due diligence. We've done everything that's necessary to show that the regulations that we're adopting are proper and what's in the best interest of the community. So again, I want us to be mindful with how we address this topic on the record. And it's another reason why I'm here, to give you the opportunity to look at the materials, to look at the zoning ordinance provision, and to contact either me, Planning Director Mike Madison, or Community Development Director Joe Horn with any questions about it. I'll be happy to meet with you, talk with you on the phone, whatever you need. I'm going to be mailing out a memorandum to you probably another week or so. Also addresses this, just lays out some general information. And I just bring that to your attention because I've changed my contact information recently, moved my office, so my phone number and my address are at the top of the letterhead, and I'll likely include my new business card. But I just want to give you a heads up before I send you a memo about this topic to let you know why I am taking a special step as it relates to this particular part of the zoning ordinance. And that's all I had to say, Mr. Chairman, unless anyone has any questions now.
Anyone have, Judy?
Just a comment. Would you please tell everyone about the public hearing on Thursday evening before the Planning Commission?
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. This Thursday is a special called meeting before the Planning Commission for their first consideration formally of the zoning ordinance. As Mike told you last month, we've had quite a few public hearings and public meetings throughout the county, but this is the first official public hearing before the Planning Commission for their consideration. They may not take a vote. We may take those comments and consider them one more time and bring it back for a vote the next month, but the special called meeting is this Thursday night in this room at 7 p.m.
Anyone else? I see none. Thank you, Christie.
Thank you all.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes everything I had. If you've got questions, I'll entertain them.
Okay, any questions for the mayor? Commissioner Ryan?
Mayor, first of all, congratulations to you and Mr. Coleman on the money saved with the refinancing of those bonds. Last month, you had informed us that there was planned discussions with the hospital about possibly getting some of that money back. If you could just update us on where we are on those.
Well, thanks for allowing me to have that discussion, and really the credit goes to a lot of people. Keeping our AAA bond in the county along with the cities is paramount. And to David and Nina, I say thank you for kind of steering that ship. Also, David said we sold them. We haven't signed the paperwork. That'll be next week. But ongoing discussions with the hospital CEO are continuing. We will continue that dialogue and try to maximize the use for both the hospital and us at this time.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Next is Director of Schools, Dr. Mike Looney.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Mayor. I'd like to start by thanking each of you that participated in the Dr. Seuss Read Across America Day. I know that many of you went to schools and read to boys and girls, and so we're very, very appreciative of that. I'd like to update you on a couple of important issues around the district. First and foremost, we have a number of principal vacancies that we've recently filled, and some of those obviously are in your district, so I would like to inform you of the names of those individuals that have been appointed to principalships. Today at Sunset Elementary School, we made an announcement that we've selected Karen Caldwell to be the principal. Karen was formerly the assistant principal at Hunters Bend. We have also named a principal for Scales Elementary School. Molly Dalgarn will be assuming that post when Mr. West leaves at the end of the year. We will be making another announcement about Perry Creek's principalship before the end of the current month. And then we will have a couple of additional principalships that we'll be filling at a later time once those announcements and those vacancies have been posted. I'd also just like to inform you and give credit to Heather Hayes from Centennial High School, who is Centennial High School's Teacher of the Year. But the really cool part about that is she's gone to the next level now, and she's competing for the regional title of Teacher of the Year. Be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Dr. Looney? I see none. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Next, we'd like to hear from Property Assessor Dennis Anglin.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. 30 years ago, after a battle with throat cancer and high interest rates in the real estate business, I went to work in the assessor's office under then Assessor Wayne Irwin. 28 years ago, I was elected assessor. At that time, the total appraised value for tax purposes was $1,200,000,000. We are now at $30 billion. That is a lot of work. It's an average of $30 billion a year, and that's a lot of work by some excellent staff. One of those staff members is Brad Coleman, who we all know won the primary for assessor last Tuesday. Brad is unopposed in the general election and will be sworn in as your next assessor on September the 1st. Brad is certainly capable of taking over the office, and I would like to retire early. I plan to retire May the 14th. That will be the date of your next commission meeting, and I'm asking that you appoint Brad as interim assessor at that meeting. And I thank you for that, and I'll answer any questions, and I know Brad has a couple of remarks.
Well, obviously, as you all know, we've been very fortunate to have Dennis for 30 years. I've been very fortunate to work with him for 9 of those years and to study underneath him. I've often joked this last term that Dennis has been trying to retire for 4 years, but out of his love for the office and just continuing to want to better our office, I'm very excited at this point that he's going to be able to retire. Obviously, be more than willing to take that if appointed in May.
Hey, any questions? I see none. Dennis, on behalf of the commission, thank you for your service to the county, and we appreciate it, and we hope to see you around.
You will.
You have.
I'm already practicing on my tan.
Well, good. Good deal. Are there any other county offices wishing to report? I see none. Moving on to elections and appointments. The first, yeah, Commissioner Hayes.
Hang on. Would like to just announce about the environmental leadership class that will start March the 29th and go through May the 3rd at MRF, our Materials Recovery Facility on Beasley Drive or Century Court. It will be 6:30 till 8:30, and we'd love for you to come and learn all about the environment.
Thank you. Moving on to elections and appointments. The first we have is Emergency Communications District Board of Directors, a 4-year term expiring March of 2016. Districts 1 and 2, Representative Ken Bryson, term expiring. Nomination, Ken Bryson. Jones and Jones. Districts 4 and 5, Representative Presley Hughes, term expiring. Nomination, Presley Hughes. Proper motion and second. Commissioner Little, the second. All in favor of those nominations signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And they're nominated. The next appointment we have, Williamson County Regional Planning Commission, 4-year terms expiring in March of 2016. Can I read these all, or did we do them individual? Term expiring Don Crohan, Brian Sanders, and John Kane. Nomination, Don Crohan, Brian Sanders, and John Kane. I'll enter. Proper motion. Who's second? Commissioner Hancock. All in favor of those nominees signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? They pass. Highway Commission, 2-year terms expiring March of 2014. Southwest District, Wayne Davis, term expiring. Nomination, Wayne Davis. Southeast District, Charlie Bennett. Nomination, Charlie Bennett. Commissioner Hancock, Commissioner Wilson, the second. All in favor of those nominations signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Industrial Development Board, 6-year term expiring in March of 2018. Term expiring Douglas Gotch. And nomination, Douglas Gotch. Commissioner Little, the second. All in favor of Mr. Gotch signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? He's nominated or appointed. Zoning Appeals Board, 5-year term expiring March 2017. Term expiring Steve Worley. Nomination, Steve Worley. Commissioner Hancock, Commissioner Hayes, second. All in favor of Mr. Worley signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Mr. Worley is so appointed. The consent agenda is next, and it's in your packet. I recognize Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to pull the notaries to add one to the new one. It should be Brandy N. Johnson.
Yep, we got a motion, need a second.
Second.
Commissioner Jones, the second. Got a vote on that? Yeah. All in favor of taking the notaries off the consent agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, so we'll take those separately. There's only one other resolution on the consent agenda. Is that loaded, Linda? So all in favor of the consent agenda? Oh, I'm sorry. Need a motion for the consent agenda? Commissioner Little, the second. Commissioner Hancock. Any discussion on that? I see none. It's loaded on the machine. All in favor of the consent agenda signify by pushing yes. Opposed? No. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
21 yes, 0 no.
Consent agenda passes. Back to the notaries. Commissioner Dwight Jones.
I just need to make a motion to add Brandy N. Johnson under the new notaries.
Okay, got a proper motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Jones, a second. Any discussion? It's loaded on your machine. If you're in favor of the notaries, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Yes, this is the notaries as amended. Everyone wishing to vote, wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
21 yes, 0 no.
The notaries are approved as amended. All right, moving on down, there's no unfinished business, new business, no zoning, appropriations. Let's see. Resolution 312-2, resolution redesignating remaining rural school bond projects funds to other rural school capital needs.
Move for approval. Second.
Commissioner Jones, the motion. Commissioner Little, the second. Do we have school board vote? Pat, do you have the school board vote on that? Or Leslie, somebody? 12-0. 12-0, okay, thank you. Education?
6-0.
Budget?
5-0.
Explanation, Commissioner Jones.
This is redesignating the rural bond project funds to schools such as Heritage Elementary and Middle School, Scales Elementary, and a softball field, Hillsborough Elementary Middle School.
Any questions? I see none. You ready to vote? All in favor of 312-2, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
21 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 312-3, resolution appropriating $2,657,826 in the general purpose school fund for 2012-13 adoption textbooks from unappropriated fund balance.
Move for approval.
Proper motion. Second, Commissioner Little. School board, 12 yes. Education committee,
6-0.
budget committee.
5-0.
Explanation, Commissioner Jones.
This is for textbooks to come out of the general purpose school fund, unappropriate fund balance.
All right. Any questions? I see none. You ready to vote? All in favor of 312-3, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
21 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 312-4, resolution requesting the Williamson County Board of County Commissioners approval of $1,289,000 for the purchase of buses for the 2012-13 school year from unappropriated fund balance.
Move for approval.
Proper motion. Dwight Jones, the second. School board. Thank you. Education.
6-0.
Budget committee.
5-0.
Explanation, Commissioner Jones.
These are the extra buses that we'll need. 5, I think, are for replacement, 8 for growth, and I think there's 1 special ed bus also.
Commissioner Hayes?
On these replacement buses, what is the age of those? What does the state say that we have to replace by how many years? Is it 12, 14, 15? I'm sorry, 15? Did you say that?
15,
15.
it's got less than 200,000 miles.
And all these do qualify?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good, all right. Any other questions? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 312-4, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
21 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 312-5, resolution appropriating $250,000 from the Central Cafeteria Fund for food costs.
Move for approval.
Commissioner Little, the second. School Board. Education.
6-0.
Budget Committee.
5-0.
Explanation, Commissioner Jones.
This is money where we've had an increase in students eating school meals, and I think this is it's not an extra cost, it's just that we're having an increase of people eating, if that's correct.
Any questions? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 312-5, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
21 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 312-6, resolution of the Williamson County Board of County Commissioners approving an intent to fund for projects of the 2011-2012 5-year plan.
Move for approval.
Proper motion. Commissioner Little, the second. School Board. 12 yes, 0 no. Education Committee.
6-4-0 against as amended.
Budget Committee.
5-4-0 against as amended.
Explanation, Commissioner Jones.
This is the school board's 5-year plan and capital needs. I'd like to offer an amendment at this time.
All right.
I'd like to amend this resolution that instead of the $26,740,448, that it be amended to $6.7 million.
Proper motion, second. Commissioner Barnwell. Okay. Commissioner Jones?
Yes, I need to back it out.
Yeah,
Just amend it to $6.7 million.
Okay.
Okay, I'll back that out.
You good with that, Commissioner Barnwell? Yeah. Okay, very good. Just details.
Yes,
All
detail.
right, there we go. Any questions on the amendment? Commissioner Ryan?
It's not regarding this amendment, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Commissioner Danner? Okay. Are we ready to vote? On the amendment? If I have a question, if I may, from the chair. And in Budget Committee, Mr. Coleman and the mayor were adding it up, and they came up with 5.9 or 5.7. Did we ever get a resolution on that? Of what does Dr. Looney, do you have an explanation on that?
Mr. Chairman, I think it would be better answered if you could ask Dr. Looney, see if he can help us through this.
Okay.
Good evening once again. Thank you for asking the question. I'd be glad to answer. In this long journey in negotiating and working with everyone to get this process further down the road, the mayor, David Coleman, myself, and Mrs. Holman came together. Of course, this was in advance of the resolutions that you just passed, and the total that was discussed was $6,740,448. That includes and I have to be careful here because, once again, you can't tell us how to spend the money, but let's assume that you don't provide the authorization enough money to perform the construction of the theaters, then there's money built into the budget to fix the seating that's in the existing theaters or multi-purpose rooms now. So that's included, as well as the buses that were approved out of the general purpose fund balance, which has now depleted our balance below the 3% we'll have to replenish it. Be glad to answer any other questions.
But I guess my question is, in budget, they were talking about, they were adding up different things and came up with, I want to say 5.7 or 5.9.
Yes, sir, that was without consideration of getting the bleachers, the seating fixed in the multi-purpose rooms. And if you go back to that colored sheet that the board redid at your request, you'll notice that there's $300,000 in to repair the seats that otherwise wouldn't have been in there. That along with the buses that you just approved in a resolution, another resolution.
Okay, very good, thank you. Commissioner Brockman, did you want to speak to the amendment?
Yeah, just the amendment, just briefly.
Okay.
For those of you who might not have been in budget, there was sentiment to raise the amount above the 6.7 in order to begin, as we said, chipping away at these capital projects for these three high schools. And Commissioner Bain and I both felt like we needed to add the 3.2 to the 6.7 that's presented tonight, and I still feel like that's something that we need to consider. Superintendent Looney has suggested that we actually go look at these schools to see the problems associated with them using these facilities, and we want to make sure that we do everything possible to keep our facilities up for these students. And we've heard from lots of parents, and I just want people to know it's not gone unnoticed, and their pleas are important to us. So I just want to say I went ahead and voted for the amended amount that's presented tonight, but I still feel like hopefully there's possibly room down the road to begin working on these facilities that are so important to these high school students, and I'd like to see us do that.
Thank you, Commissioner Brockman. Commissioner Smith to the amendment?
Yes, please.
Yes, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to say I appreciate the work of the Budget Committee and the Education Committee in looking over these things. I've had a lot of comments from folks in my district represent Centennial, and I know I certainly know there are needs there. I had all three of my kids came through Centennial, so I'm very familiar with the facility and what's going on there. I'm supporting this amendment at this time. I believe we certainly need to take care of building maintenance issues, safety issues, those kinds of things. But I applaud the Budget Committee for being very cautious in terms of expenditures in this particular year. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hayes to the amendment?
I suppose it is the amendment, although it's the whole resolution. I feel uncomfortable about this at this time. I don't think anyone could doubt that I support education as a former teacher, and I always have. But I see right now we have so many needs and so many wants. And the needs are very critical all across this county. We've had years that we have not funded anything in capital projects. And I received wonderful emails, very serious, thoughtful, sincere emails, many from Centennial High School, and I appreciate them. I read every one very carefully. So my heart breaks to say that I think that we would do better, because I also heard from my residents who said we need help with our law enforcement, we need law enforcement cars, we need help with our public safety. I saw a presentation, as did many of you the other evening. We have needs. We have needs in our parks and recs. We have needs in every department. I would be very much more comfortable if we deferred this until our next meeting, when we had had a chance to look at the other departments and see what their needs are. If it comes back that their needs can be taken care of and that we can still get everything here and maybe more, I'll be the first to say hurrah. But I'm going to make a motion to defer this whole resolution at this time till our next meeting.
Proper motion. We need a second. Do I have a second on deferring? Second. Who wants credit? Commissioner Ford. So we vote on that. Okay. All right. So we'll get Linda to put it on the board.
Commissioner.
Yeah. Dr. Looney?
can we discuss the deferment, the motion?
Yes.
Okay, I have a request to speak to
Okay,
that.
all right. Let's see, which one are you? Which?
R. Jones.
Yeah, no. I'm having to count. For the record, you're actually number 4.
Let's get that right before he speaks.
Yeah, and that, actually, Commissioner Chalfant's number 3. So, Commissioner Chalfant,
I was going to speak to the amendment.
okay, go ahead.
I too have had an
Oh,
opportunity.
no, wait a minute. You need to speak to the deferral. I'm
No,
sorry.
no.
Okay, all right. Commissioner Jones, you want to speak to?
I would just like the director to let us know if, our next meeting will be in May.
May.
So if we put this off to May, if there are any of these projects that will not be able to complete by this time next year.
Dr. Looney?
Thank you for your question. The simple answer is no. Part of the dilemma, and we've had this ongoing dialogue about the timing of resolutions, capital request improvements, and resolutions associated with it. Part of the dilemma is we have to get architectural work done, engineering work done. It has to go through the bid process. A contractor has to be chosen, then they have to have time to mobilize. And because the way the school system operates, with the only time that we have available to do the work in the summer, now's the time to get the process started. If we don't secure funding until May, then realistically, we can't do these kinds of projects during the school year, so you're looking at next summer. And so I would just plead with this body to reconsider that proposal and to move forward, certainly without, I'm not trying to be disrespectful of any other department's needs. I'm here representing the school system's needs, and I think we can all agree that the items that are listed on the capital request are in fact needs and not wants. And so I just urge your consideration.
Okay. Follow up, Commissioner Jones?
No.
Okay. Wait just a minute. Push your button. Let's see. Are you on? Yeah, let me come back to you. Commissioner Smith, to the deferral?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate Commissioner Jones bringing up that issue and the director's comments. This amount, compares favorably to my thinking when the original resolution was brought in at our previous meeting, and we've got some serious maintenance issues. We've got some safety issues. We've got some equity issues, and as the director spoke to it, there's timing issues involved here. We need to get this done. We don't need to defer for 60 days by any means. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just to speak to the deferral.
Well, I've got a couple in front of you.
Okay.
Are you already pushed the button? Yeah, okay. Let's see. No, Commissioner, okay, Commissioner Danner.
To speak to the deferral, while matters of the equity and the maintenance and the safety are important, could we have the sheriff come and speak to? I would like to know the timeline for his needs for these cars. We've heard this, and I know that's in a lot of our minds of, if we do this amended amount of money, that there does not leave any extra money for any other department. And so if we could just get an idea of your timeline so that we could weigh whether the deferral makes any sense. I'd kind of like to know how urgent those your needs are.
Sheriff?
Thank you, Ms. Danner. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, we're asking for 40 cars. We're in a terrible need for automobiles. Those are cars that we are now getting into a situation where the repairs are so expensive, it's not worth repairing the automobiles that we have. What I would like to have seen, and I talked to the mayor, and I appreciate his cooperation on this. He and Mr. Coleman are working with us every day in discussions about what we can do about cars. What I would like to have seen is half of the cars purchased out of this year's budget and then maybe half out of the new year budget, if that's possible. I don't know what the revenues are that are left, and as I said, our staff is having discussions with Mr. Coleman and with the mayor, and we've got to have some cars. I mean, we're at that point where I hope you know that I'm trying to be a pretty good steward of the county's money, and I haven't asked for anything
that I didn't feel like was absolutely necessary, and we're at a breaking point. These cars, I've got one that I had to take a deputy out of this weekend because it's a fear of the airbag going off at any second, plus the motor engine light is on and the transmission's coming out of it. That's how desperate we're getting.
If I may add, 40 cars equates to roughly $1 million.
I'd have to look at the list to be totally honest with you.
But just ballpark.
Close to it.
Yeah, all right.
Yes.
Thank you, Sheriff. Any
questions?
Follow-up, Commissioner Danner? Okay.
I had a question about that particular subject.
Wait just a minute.
Okay, go ahead.
Push your button. Well, I got Commissioner.
Yes, push. But you got something.
Are you going to speak to the deferral, Commissioner Ryan? Okay. Commissioner Ford, I think you're next.
I think I am too. I think I'm going to speak to the deferral. Dr. Looney, as I look down these projects, I understand the difficulty in performing these projects while school is in session. However, if I look down through this, outside of the theaters, 4.2 of that is approximately, or 4.3 of that is purchasing new land, which won't be affected by kids being in school or not. We could do that completely independent of schools. And then the 3.4 of that is technology, which does not affect building projects while school is in session. And then the other projects up here are primarily ancillary building projects that are football storage buildings, soccer toilet building concessions that are less affected by the direct school buildings where the students are. And so I don't see as great an impact as if we were actually going to be doing some of these theater projects where inside the school buildings where the students are. I don't see as great an impact on the school campuses as those. I understand the moving construction equipment in and out, and we have to be careful of that, but I don't see as great an impact as on some of the other projects that we've done in the past. So I can support the deferral. The other piece that Sheriff Long mentioned is there's two sides to this equation. One of them is the capital needs. The second one is actually the revenue. And I think the more time and the closer we can get to the budget year, the better of an understanding of what that revenue impact is really going to be. And so we'll be able to understand both. I will, as a commissioner, have a better feel for what are those complete capital needs and what does that complete revenue look like, so that I would be able to make a more informed decision. And who knows, there may be additional money that's out there that can fund some of these things. So I can support the deferral just because I'll have a more complete picture of exactly what I'm voting on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Chalfant?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had also an opportunity to visit Brentwood High School and go through a number of the necessities required, particularly within the multipurpose room where the bleachers are collapsing. It is an extreme safety hazard. I think one of the points that were made on that, as far as that particular facility is concerned, is that perhaps that might be continued as a theater. It's after being worked on and much of the seating corrected, because much of the wiring is there and is in good shape. I think they have several needs within that area, but I really feel that taking in consideration the age of Brentwood High School being, surprisingly enough, the oldest structure high school in the county, and yet you see what is being results that we're getting from the student body out of that school. We need to at least address some of these immediate needs, and this particular one within the theater area is one of a real safety hazard.
Thank you, Commissioner Chalfant. Commissioner Wilson?
Yes, thank you. I'll be as brief as possible. I did also visit Centennial and with Dr. Brown, and I had a son that graduated from Centennial also. these are very important. Each one of them are very, very important. But I had a question for Sheriff Long. Of the 40 vehicles that you would like to see, how many in your capital budget, how many were possibly included in that budget? Were any vehicles, like for instance buses would be for your school system, and those, are appropriated. Of course, we have to, fund that. But is there any in that budget that would be extra? I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Are you talking about in the proposed budget
In
for
the
next year?
proposed budget.
We're asking for a total of 40 vehicles.
Asking for a total of 40.
Yes.
And you're feeling that you need half now,
We need
Sheriff
40
Long?
vehicles.
Okay.
But what I was hoping is if the revenues are left over out of this fiscal year, is maybe get half of them now, and that wouldn't be such a burden then for the next year's budget. We could take half out of that instead of getting the full amount out of one fiscal year, is what I was hoping.
I guess maybe the question I'm asking is, were there any included in your previous, this year's budget?
Yes, we asked, initially, I think it's 20-something cars, but we were told, capital request, none until the end of the year to see what the revenues were going to be, and then try to get us some help at that time.
Okay.
So as far as formally requesting them, I guess not, but there was discussion about the cars, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Herbert, speak to
this
the deferral.
Yes, this question's for David Coleman.
Commissioner?
I just want to verify, this $6.7 million is money that has to be borrowed. It's not money left over from excess revenue. Am I correct?
That's correct. It would have to be borrowed in some form or fashion.
Okay. That's all.
All right. Commissioner Langston, speak to the deferral.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, I would also like to speak along the lines that Commissioner Chalfant did. I know that there are needs within all these county high schools, and certainly I have visited, as have others, Centennial High School, and I think we have some needs that must be met at some point in the future, hopefully as quick as we can do this. And so I cannot vote for the deferral based on that reason.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Langston. Commissioner Green?
Yes, this question is for Mr. Coleman, please.
All right, Mr. Coleman.
I think, Mr. Coleman, I think the bigger question is basically, when we look at where we're going to be as far as funds for capital expenditures at the end of the year, do we have any idea as to what kind of funds will be available for capital expense?
Green, I guess I have to kind of back up and give a little bit of history about the 6.7 to tell you how we got to where we are. And that is that Dr. Looney and Ms. Holman and the mayor and I met after the January meeting when the $26 million, I think, was turned down. And Dr. Looney asked us to kind of look and see, okay, what can we do? How do you think we can resolve this to some point? And so looking at their list at that time, we came up with about $6.7 million, I think he said a while ago. And my comment at that time was, I think we can borrow this amount of money without having to have additional revenue in the debt service funds. And that's where we've had the crunch the last 2 or 3 years, and I think we've tried to portray that to you over time, that we've got a 4 or 5 year window here where our debt service is at about a $50 million a year level, and then it will start coming down some. And so that's where the pressure is. So it's not that we're against borrowing the money, and it's not that we don't have the ability to pay it back, but if we get much above that, we're going to have some source of additional revenue. So that's kind of how we arrived at that figure. Now, their schedule's kind of changed 2 or 3 times. I think the schedule attached to the resolution tonight is $21.5 million, where originally we were looking at 26, and that's because they pulled the buses and some other things out and adjusted the price of the land at Spring Hill and a couple other items. But we kind of came up with that $6.7 million almost 2 months ago in some discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hayes to the deferral.
Just step there, David. When you made that comment, though, you were talking about everything in general or just education?
Ms. Hayes, it began the discussion just with education, but that is the level that we're kind of looking at that we can afford to borrow. And as a couple of you said about being early, and I'm not supporting a deferral or whatever, but I'm just saying that it is early for us also. And so we're trying to take a stab at it and say, here's an amount of money that we think we can borrow and not have to have additional revenue in those debt service funds. As we get further down the line, we might see that we can increase that. I hope we can. But also, we haven't even compiled all the needs of other departments. We've talked about the sheriff tonight, but we haven't got all, the budgets were deadline to come into us on Friday. We're still entering those. We're still compiling all the capital that's been requested. So it is going to be a few more weeks before we have all that together.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak to the deferral? I think we're good. It's loaded on the machine. If you're in favor to defer, push your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
11 yes, 10 no.
So it fails. Resolution fails. So the motion to defer fails. All right, so we're back. It's been a while. We don't have another, but we don't have another motion on the floor. I thought we did.
We have the amendment to 6.7.
Yeah, okay, we do have the amendment 6.7. All right, Commissioner Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know we already have an amended version of this particular resolution. I would like to propose one myself this evening. My concern personally is with $6.7 million, we've essentially maxed out our credit card for certainly the next 6 months. We've heard from the sheriff. We have certainly from our emergency crews the need for additional fire trucks. What I would like to propose as an amendment is currently as it stands, and Ms. Holman, correct me if I'm wrong, we have approximately $2 million that is set aside that was left over from Summit High School that has been set aside for land purchase in Nolensville. What I would like to propose is reallocating that money to these capital improvements along with a $1.2 million bond to bring us to a total of $3.2 million. That's enough for certainly at least one of these high school theaters that has been discussed this evening. Obviously, it would be up to the school board as far as which one of those high schools would be able to get to theater. My personal hope would be for Centennial, but I would like to make that motion to reallocate $2 million plus $1.2 million in bonds.
So that would amend, if I understand you correctly, you're amending Resolution 312-6 down to a total of $3.2 million, with $2 million of it coming from monies already allocated?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Proper motion. Is there a second? Second. Commissioner Danner, the second. Right. This is not in addition to the 6.7, or is it?
No, sir.
Yeah,
This is
okay.
a standalone.
All right. Okay. Total. $3.2 million total. Okay. Commissioner Barnwell, do you want to speak to the amendment?
Yeah, I guess. I'm not sure where it sits. I thought we'd be amending the amendment to 7.9 plus the $2 million from the, isn't that the way that's supposed to go, or?
It's not the amendment he made.
He's amending it.
Oh.
He's amending the 6.7, well.
What's
we haven't
actually
passed the
happening? Are we going to
6.7 yet.
7.9 plus $2 million coming from another location? Is that's what I'm asking?
No. What he's, 1.2 million new money and $2 million coming from another location for a total of 3.2 million.
Okay. I'll speak to that. I would be against this. I think the original amendment gets us through a crunch period, and I think the any remaining funds can be further analyzed as time evolves, and the mayor and Mr. Coleman has an opportunity to look at the total budget. I think we can live with the 6.7 today. I would be opposed to proposing any more money right now. I think that money can wait.
Okay. Commissioner Bain?
Yeah, I have a question. We've had some discussions here the last few months. Can we, my question probably to the attorney, can we, as I understand it, cannot say that they will use this $2 million from Summit. That's something that we have no power to do.
You can't tell them where they can spend their money.
That's right.
You can make an
So
appropriation
what
of
we're
money,
really
they can
saying is
choose on what they're
if
gonna
we
do.
give you $1.2 million additional, you may want to do this, but we can't do that, right?
Effectively, you would be giving 1.2 in addition to what's been appropriated.
Okay, thank you.
Don't they have to come back to us and say we're going to move this up to a major category change?
It would, yes.
Okay. So they do have to tell us
Yes,
and get our approval.
on the appropriation.
Commissioner Ricky Jones?
I'd like the director to speak to this amendment.
Dr. Looney?
Thank you for the recognition. Just for the record, I would stand opposed to the proposed amendment to the amendment. Ladies and gentlemen, all I can do is implore you to move ahead with, at a minimum, the 6.7. The school board has approved, at your request, going back and revisiting this issue and revising it and modifying it and prioritizing it to some extent based on safety concerns and health concerns and that sort of thing. I'd kindly remind you that the Education Committee voted unanimously to amend it to 6.7 as well as the Budget Committee. So I would just implore you to move forward with, at a minimum, the 6.7 so we can move forward with these critical projects in time for school to start next year. Thank you.
Follow-up, Commissioner Jones?
Yes, I'm opposed to this amendment. We have a lot of safety issues. I'll let it be known, I'm one of the coaches at Fairview High School. Our kids have to walk across the parking lots to restrooms. I go over to Independence. I hear the same thing from Independence coaches, and we're going to have, we've got some safety concerns, and we talk about kicking it on down the can down the road. And I know it's been a struggle, and we've struggled with this on the Education Committee, and we've asked Dr. Looney and them to go back and cut and cut and cut, and now we cut, and now we want to cut or defer even further. And I'd just like us to either kick the can way down the road or pick it up and let's run with it.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Smith, to the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to concur with Commissioner Jones about this. And folks, we've got a school system staff, a financial staff. We've got David. We've got the mayor, Director Looney, the budget committee, the education committee. They've all worked on this for a couple of months now, and they're continuing to work on this. Let's give them some credit that they have a feel for what they're doing. And I can pick any number of things off that list that I would drop and add something else. But we've been presented with a plan, and it's been through the process. We don't need to defer it. We need to go ahead and put it to bed and get it done. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Any other questions on the amendment? I see none. You ready to vote? It's loaded on the machine. All we're voting on is to amend Resolution 312-6 down to 3.2 million. If you're in favor, push the yes button. Opposed? No, 3.2.
This is Commissioner Ryan.
This is Commissioner Ryan's.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, if I want to make sure that we all understand that what I'm requesting is 1.2 million in bonds.
Right.
With the request from the school board to use the other $2 million. I just want to make sure that that's clear.
Okay.
Thank you.
Everybody understand that? You ready to vote? If you're in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
3 yes, 18 no.
The amendment fails. Back to the first amendment, where it was a resolution 312-6 was amended down to 6.7 million. Any discussion on that amendment? Commissioner Danner?
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to try this one more time. I cannot support the 6.7 if there's no money for the sheriff for the cars. I just think that no matter what the safety issues are at these schools, that our public safety is more important. So I'd like to make a motion to take it to 5.7. That way we get the $1 million set aside for the sheriff's cars.
Proper motion. Is there a second? Commissioner Ryan, the second.
Discussion on the amendment to 5.7.
Yeah. Commissioner Herbert, you going to speak to the amendment?
Well, I was going to motion to amend the budget.
Okay. Well, we've got two on the floor now, but we'll stand by. Anybody wishing to speak to the amendment which amends it down to 5.7 million? I see none. You ready to vote? All in favor of amending Resolution 312-6, amending amount down to 5.7 million? If you're in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
Okay, 4 yes, 17 no.
The amendment fails. So now we're back to the amendment of 6.7 million. Commissioner Herbert?
I motion to amend it to 6 million. That way that gives the projects he need, 100,000 fixing the bleachers, and at least 700,000 to help with the extra needs of the Sheriff's Department and other projects.
Second.
Who was my second? Commissioner Hayes? All right, anybody got a question on amending Resolution 312-6 to $6 million? Anyone discussion on that?
I've got a question.
All right.
Can we legally divide, can you legally divide it like that in departments? I mean, if this is an education.
There's not an actual motion to appropriate it to the sheriff. This is just to deal with this at $6 million.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Commissioner Hayes on the amendment?
Yes, I was touched that the sheriff mentioned that he needed cars and he needed them badly. I think as important as all these things are, we can't put them against life and limb and safety and the health and of all of our constituents. And I think that's what we're doing. If we cannot provide the transportation for him to get to the residents and for us to have the correct emergency procedures when they're needed. Life and limb is saved every day with our emergency technology and our emergency people, and they have to have equipment to operate. And I think that this amendment would help do that with it and some additional money. So I'm going to support it.
All right. Any other discussions on the amendment to amend this resolution to $6 million? I see none. Are you ready to vote? All in favor of Resolution 312-6, amending it to $6 million. If you're in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
8 yes, 13 no.
Resolution fails. So now we're back to the $6.7 million amendment. Any discussion on that? Commissioner Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask Dr. Looney a question, if I might. Dr. Looney, in the Education Committee, one of the things I think you reported was that you were not complete with the school budget, of course, but you were going to be having discussions, and your anticipation was that you would be able to hold the line on the tax rate that the schools needed as far, at least from a preliminary standpoint, the tax rate that the schools would need from an operational standpoint. And I asked at that point if, and I think you were having those meetings this past weekend, if you could report back to us on the status of that, and perhaps even the ability for you to give back a penny or two out of the school tax rate to be able to work towards these projects. Could you report on the status of that for us, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you for your question. The budget that we have submitted to the school board to take up formally at its next meeting will not require any additional revenue from the county commission beyond what the penny, beyond the percentage that we currently get. Having said that, we still, the budget that we've proposed is actually short $1.2 million now, and that's because we're forecasting additional revenue coming in. So right now, we haven't even presented a balanced budget to the board. We're 2 pennies short. So we're assuming that we're going to have additional revenue coming in based on the economy. So I don't think we're going to be in a position to refund any money to the county commission, but I do think we're going to be in a position to present what I hope is a very easy budget for you to approve, because we won't be asking for additional money in the operational budget.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I have listened to the discussion, and I kind of took to heart one of the things that Commissioner Brockman spoke to, and that is with the money that we're talking about here, we're not really making any headway, as I understand how the school board sense is of how to allocate this money. We don't really seem to be making any headway on capital projects, on large-scale capital projects. And I personally, as one commissioner, would like to see us do that. And I think now is an excellent time for us to be able to do that, because we're going to be faced with building new schools, and these projects are going to continue to be pushed back and pushed back. And so with that, with the news on the school budget from an operational standpoint, I'd like to make a motion that we amend this to $9.9 million.
Proper motion. Is there a second? Commissioner Brockman, the second. Give us a
We're
minute.
going to find a number at some point.
There's several on the board, so I'm going to go through and ask you, Commissioner Smith, you want to speak on the new amendment?
No, sir.
Commissioner Danner on the new amendment? Commissioner Chalifant?
No.
Commissioner Dwight Jones? Commissioner Barnwell? Yes. All right.
I think it's premature at this time for this to be brought forward. I think as time evolves, we may find the money at that point in time that we can amend these, or they can present a new resolution for these theaters when we know we have the money. The whole talk I've heard through the Budget Committee and Education Committee is this is right the skinny on what we can afford without a tax increase. Now, Commissioner Ford, if you want a tax increase, fine, but I don't, and so I would be voting against this amendment. And then wait until the timing's right, when the mayor and everybody has had a good opportunity to look at what the revenue and expenses are going to be, and we can make a valid call.
Commissioner Ryan?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I would urge this commission to think very carefully about this. When we have $6.7 million, according to Mr. Coleman, is essentially what we have left without having to raise additional funds, we are leaving absolutely no wiggle room whatsoever for the sheriff, for any emergency departments, Parks and Rec, all these other departments that are looking at it. We have absolutely no wiggle room. God forbid we have a tornado that decides to go through the better part of this county. We have to replace 10 roofs on these schools. We no longer have any room whatsoever to be able to take out additional bonds to replace these things. I understand there's insurance and whatnot, but we don't have any wiggle room now. And I think it would be prudent if we decided to give the mayor, Mr. Coleman, and the Budget Committee the necessary room that it requires to run other departments. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak on the amendment on the floor? I see none. Are you ready to vote? Resolution 312-6. The amendment on the floor is to amend the resolution to $9.9 million. If you're in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
3 yes, 19 no.
The amendment fails. We're back to the original amendment at, that was 6.7 million. So, Commissioner Danner, you want to speak to the 6.7 million?
I would, thank you.
Okay.
This is for Dr. Looney. The 6.7, can you tell us what you would put forth to the board that you would purchase out of that 6.7?
I don't know that I can do that, Ms. Danner. I want to answer your question in good faith, so I'll attempt to. I feel certain that we would be excluding the middle school theaters from the list, or at least I would exclude that as a recommendation. I am not certain whether we would exclude all of the theaters. You know, I have to take into consideration the board's priorities in my recommendation. So my commitment would be to use this money, if you approve it, as wisely and as effectively and efficiently as we possibly can to make sure that the boys and girls served by Williamson County Schools get as much bang for the dollars that you give us to work with. That's the best that I could do tonight.
Okay, follow up. Specifically, would the land purchase for the new elementary school be in the 6.7?
Once again, I'm not sure I can answer that question. I report to the Board of Education, and they'll ultimately tell me what to do, and we'll just have to go back. And I will say the land purchase is an extremely good deal, and we haven't even started negotiating yet. So, I mean, the truth is we might even get a little bit lower. I just don't know. Once again, I would say that we'll do everything we can to make the wisest choice, as we always do, as an entity, to make you proud as a commissioner that you gave us the money and we used it wisely.
Let's see. Commissioner Dwight Jones?
Call for question.
All right. Question's been called. Second. All in favor of calling the question, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the question's been called. So we're ready to vote. We're voting on the amendment to amend Resolution 312-6, amend it to 6.7 million. All in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
18 yes, 4 no.
The amendment passes. So we're down back to the main resolution as amended. Any discussion on that? I see none. You ready to vote? All in favor of Resolution 312-6 as amended to $6.7 million. If you're in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
18 yes, 4 no.
All right. Do y'all want to take a break or? All right, we'll take about a 10-minute break.
Commissioner Williams is not here for that. Let's get the show on the road.
We'll go back into session. Resolution 312-8, resolution accepting a donation of $15,000 from Julia Robeson, conditioned on the funds being used to purchase equipment for the Williamson County Sheriff's Department SWAT team.
Second.
Commissioner Brockman, Commissioner Chalfant, the second. Law Enforcement Committee? 4-4. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hancock. Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against as amended.
All right. You want to offer the amendment, Tom?
Yes. Proposed amendment to Resolution B-12-8. Add the following to the resolution after the now therefore be it resolved line, and be it further resolved that the 2011-12 Sheriff's Department budget be amended and the funds be appropriated as follows. Expenditure, law enforcement equipment, 101.54110.716, $15,000. Revenue, donation, 101.48610, $15,000.
All right, that's a proper amendment. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Chalfant, second. And this amendment was put on your desk earlier, so it should be there somewhere. Anyone like to speak to the amendment? I see none. You ready to vote on the amendment? And it's on the machine, Linda. If you're in favor of the amendment, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
22 yes, 0 no.
The amendment passes. Now back to the main motion, main resolution as amended. Any discussion on 312-8 as amended? I see none. You ready to vote? All in favor of 312-8, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 312-9, resolution appropriating and amending the 2011-12 Parks and Recreation budget by $2,600, revenues to come from donations. Commissioner Green?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Little, the second. Parks and Rec Committee?
Parks and Rec was 4-4, 0 against.
Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Green?
This is a donation to offset some of the expenses from the Easter egg hunt, the spring craft show, and some senior activities that took place within the county.
All right. Any questions? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 312-9, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 312-10, resolution appropriating and amending the 2011-12 solid waste sanitation budget by $11,240 for expenses related to the Living Green Expo, revenue to come from rentals and sponsorship fees.
Move approval.
Commissioner Green, the second. Municipal Solid Waste Board.
3-4-0 against.
Budget Committee.
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Hayes.
I think the title is pretty self-explanatory. We're having a Living Green Expo the last Saturday of August at the Ag Park. We have to have rentals there for tables, and we do 6 sponsorships, so we will return as much or more than this amount that we're asking to get started. So it'll be money in, money out.
Any questions? I see none. You ready to vote? All in favor of Resolution 312-10, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Well, record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
Okay. 22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 312-11, resolution authorizing the county mayor to enter into a contractual agreement for the provision of dental services at the Williamson County Health Department in an amount not to exceed $138,000. Commissioner Wilson?
Yes, Public Health was 5-4-0 against.
Move for
approval. Sorry.
All right. Commissioner Little, the second. Okay. Public Health, 5-4-0 against. Budget Committee,
5-4-0 against.
explanation, Commissioner Wilson.
Yes, these are funds that will be provided for a full-time dentist and full-time dental assistant, and these are monies that is a contractual agreement for
Okay.
that amount.
Now, there was an amendment on the desk.
Oh, okay, I
You want to make that
apologize.
amendment?
The amendment is, be it further resolved, line with budget by removing proposed amendment. I
The
apologize.
expenditures and revenues. Yep.
Okay, removing the expenditures and revenue. Okay, apologize.
Mr. Coleman, would you like to explain that?
Oh, putting a period, okay. All right, never mind. We're putting cash in, cash out. I apologize. I've been out of town for 2 weeks.
Mr. Chairman, in the last, be it therefore resolved, you'll know the date is for the 2012-13 budget.
Okay.
So all we're asking for in this resolution is the approval for the mayor to sign the contract, and the funds will actually come through the regular budget process and be in their budget, so we do not need the amendment at the bottom there for the $138,000. Just approval for the mayor to sign.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Dave.
Was that Commissioner Barnwell? David, Mr. Coleman, if I may, do we need to take the amount out of the heading too?
No, sir, that would be correct.
Okay.
It'll still be
All
enough to exceed.
Okay, all right. So proper motion second. Any discussion on the amendment? I see none. You ready to vote on the amendment? If you're in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
22 yes, 0 no.
All right, the amendment passes, so we're back to the main resolution as amended. Resolution 31211 as amended. Any discussion? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 31211 as amended, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 31212, resolution appropriating and amending the 2011-12 animal control budget by $20,000, revenues to come from unappropriated county general fund balance.
Move for approval.
Who's the second? Commissioner Hayes. Public Health Committee,
Oh, 5-4-0 against.
Budget Committee,
5-4-0 against.
explanation.
This is a budgeted amount of the amount, and this is an unappropriated, it will come out of the unappropriated county general fund balance. Out of animal control, received this private donation. Apologize. Read a
Okay.
little bit further.
We don't have an amendment for this one, so I guess not. So,
That's a good point, no.
Commissioner Hayes?
Received last year, and part of the money was used at animal control. Part of it was not used. It needs just to roll over into the fund so it can be expended. So it was donated money.
All right. Any further questions? I see none. You ready to vote? All in favor of Resolution 31212 as presented? Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 1213. Resolution amending the 2011-12 Highway Department budget and appropriate up to $143,963.52 for paving expenses of state aid roads.
Move for approval.
Proper motion. Commissioner Hayes, second. Highway Commission, 5-4-0 against.
Yeah.
And Budget Committee,
5-4-0 against.
explanation, Commissioner Hancock.
Mr. Chairman, this is reimbursement to our highway department for some paving they did on a state aid road. road was actually resurfacing the Hollow Tree Gap Road, and they paid us back exactly what it cost us.
Very good. Any questions? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 31213, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change the vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 31214, resolution amending the 2011-2012 Highway Department budget and appropriating up to $883,672.86 from reimbursement of flood damage in 2010. Commissioner Hancock?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Hayes, the second. Highway Commission, 5-0. Budget Committee?
5-4, 0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Hancock.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is reimbursement by FEMA for the road work that the Highway Department did after the flood of 2010 that qualified, and they're reimbursing us that money now.
All right. Any questions? I see none. If you're in favor of 31214, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 31215, resolution amending the 2011-2012 Highway Department budget and appropriating up to $138,751.97 for construction of a state aid bridge. Commissioner Hancock?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Dwight Jones, second. Highway Commission, 5-0. Budget Committee?
5-0.
Explanation, Commissioner Hancock.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a reimbursement of the state bridge aid program where they'll give the county back money for replace certain bridges. And it's $138,751.97 that we spent, and they're reimbursing us.
Very good. Any questions? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 31215, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
Okay. 22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 31216, resolution authorizing the transfer of $2,000 between major categories to provide funding for the Building Codes Department. Commissioner Bain?
Move for consideration.
Proper motion. Commissioner Little, the second. Budget Committee?
5-4, 0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Bain.
This is basically a transfer of funds between major categories for vehicle repair.
Any questions? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 31216, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
Okay. 22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 31217, resolution appropriating and amending the 2011-12 county clerk's budget by $10,000 for additional postage, revenues to come from unappropriated county general funds. Commissioner Bain?
Move for consideration.
Second.
Commissioner Chalfant, the second. Budget Committee?
5-4, 0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Bain.
This is $10,000 for additional postage needed by the clerk's department.
All right. Any questions? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 31217, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Commissioner Bain. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
Thank you. 21 yes, 1 abstain.
Resolution passes. Resolution 31218, resolution appropriating amending the 2011-12 Election Commission budget by $40,168.68, revenues to come from other local revenues. Commissioner Bain?
Move for consideration.
Proper motion, Commissioner Wilson, the second. Budget Committee?
5-4, 0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Bain.
This is reimbursement to the Election Commission from Franklin's municipal election.
All right, any questions? I see none. If you're in favor of 31218, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution appropriating and amending the 2011-12 Parks and Recreation budget by $200, revenues to come from reserve funds. Commissioner Bain?
Move for consideration.
Second.
Commissioner Jones? Second. Parks and Rec Committee?
Parks and Rec, 4-4-0 against.
Thank you. Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Bain.
Yes, this is a scholarship that the commission has done for as long as I've been here for the Hillsborough community.
Okay. Any questions? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 31219, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 31221, resolution appropriating and amending the 2011-12 Circuit Court Clerk's budget by $18,000, revenues to come from reserve account. Commissioner Bain?
Move for consideration.
Second.
Commissioner Smith, second. Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 5. Yeah, well, we
Okay.
got a typo. Okay.
Explanation, Commissioner Bain.
This is for office equipment in the circuit court's clerk's office.
Any questions? I see none. You ready to vote? Resolution 31221. If you're in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 312-7, resolution declaring certain property and equipment of the Williamson County Highway Department as surplus property and authorizing the sale of the property and equipment at auction. Commissioner Langston?
Move approval.
Second.
Commissioner Smith, the second. Highway Commission, 5-4-0 against. Property Committee?
7-4-0 against.
Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Langston.
This is some equipment the Highway Department has, it's surplus, and they ask for it to be auctioned, please.
All right. Any discussion? I see none. If you're ready to vote, Resolution 312-7, if you're in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 31220, resolution authorizing a property tax exemption for nonprofit community and performing arts organizations in accordance with Tennessee Code Annotated, Section 67-5-223. Commissioner Bethard?
Move for approval.
Second.
And a bunch of seconds. Commissioner Smith on the second. Tax Study Committee?
It was 4-4-0 against.
All right. Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
All right. Property Committee?
7-4-0 against as amended.
All right. Commissioner Bethard, I'll call on you. I think you've been...
I have. And first, I apologize for being tardy. I was at the Franklin Special School District Board meeting a few moments ago where they sent me here with a message to the commissioners that they do wish us to proceed tonight with our vote, even though they decided tonight to table this issue for another month.
All right. Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to speak to this resolution, as chairman of the Convention Visitors Bureau Board, I would like to recognize that there are several other board members of the CVB, either here among us or in the audience, and appreciate their support for those efforts involving tourism. This is a significant amount of money for the theater that we're talking about here, and it's something that could help make or break their existence in the theater. the theater provides another venue that we can use, not only the CVB, but other entities can use to attract business downtown, tourism to our community with some of the shows that have been held there. It's just an amazing draw for downtown Franklin and for our county as a whole. And so it gives us another arrow in our quiver, if you will, to be able to attract people to Williamson County to spend their money, which is what we're all about at CVB, and leaving it here with us. So I would certainly urge you to approve this.
Thank you, Commissioner
Thank you, Mr.
Smith.
Chairman.
Commissioner Beathard, did you want to speak?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. And I overskipped. I apologize if I missed over you. Commissioner Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know there's already widespread support for this. I'll keep this very brief. I first of all want to congratulate and commend my co-commissioner for his efforts on this. He's been working on this for some time along with the Heritage Foundation, Ms. Pierce. It's a long time coming. It's certainly an absolute jewel for this entire county, certainly for downtown Franklin. And I would just like to remind everybody, we are not giving taxpayer money to the Franklin Theater. We're simply allowing them to keep their own money and spend it wisely. And so I congratulate everybody, and I appreciate your support for it.
Commissioner Hayes?
This is another item that makes our community such an economic engine and such a quality of life place to live. In checking with Matt Largent, he says that it is a jewel unlike any others. And when he has someone to come to our area, to look our area over, that is one place he takes them, and they're always delighted. One of his constituents or one of his counterparts said, in Ohio, we used to have one and they tore it down, and I'm just sick. So we have a jewel here, and I certainly hope we can always keep it. And my thanks go to the people who are sitting out there who've been instrumental in making it happen, and I appreciate their work and their diligence in getting it done, and thank you for being here.
Commissioner Langston?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. There was an amendment offered in the property committee, but at this point in time, I'd like to withdraw that.
Okay, very good. Any further discussion? I see none. You ready to vote? All in favor of Resolution 31220 as presented? If you're in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. I have no other businesses. Yes, Commissioner Smith.
Resolution 31211 that dealt with dental service at the health department. Did I miss something? It was in my packet on here. Did we do that?
Yeah, we.
Okay. I'm sure I did.
That was one we had amendments on. Oh, did we? Oh, I forgot. We had to take the dollars out. Okay. Yeah, we did have a vote. We're adjourned.